Hi, I'm Debbie Lucci from William Raveis Realtors in Andover, Mass. And I'm here today with my fellow realtor and team leader, Matt Whitty. He's with Raveis as well, and he runs his own team. And we're going to talk today about discount brokerages. So, what are your thoughts, Matt?
Yes, I'm always biased to the non-discount brokerages,
Mhm.
but I know that we talked about this before that sometimes the consumers would look at agents and say, "Look, all and heard this from them. All agents are the same. They're identical. They all perform the same duties and do the same amount of paperwork and the same marketing." So I find it our job to prove them wrong and say, no, these are the things that we do that are a little bit different. So I always use the analogy that not all doctors are the same. So I know when I had knee surgery a few years ago, um, I found a doctor. I thought he was pretty good, and then my wife did some serious digging and found out where he went to med school, how many surgeries he did, and so on and so forth. And she approved of the doctor, but it's one of those things that's not much different than when you hire anyone.
It's one of people's biggest assets. And I mean, you're letting somebody in the door that can't even negotiate their own commission. I mean, and if they don't even really care about their own commission, just think about what they're going to do with negotiating, the sale of their home. And I think this one of the sad things is that the sellers don't realize is that it can cost them tens of thousands of dollars by hiring the wrong person. I mean, so you're a team leader within Ravis. I'm a team leader within Ravis. Now we see how much training it takes to get a new agent up off the ground, and all the knowledge that we have, and the experience. And I mean, one of my favorite things is to negotiate. I love negotiating. It's one of my. I mean, it's like a chess game. I just that's one of my favorite things. I like to see if I can get my commission back for the seller. That's one of my goals. And but all the I think some of the things that we offer is we offer a lot of experience that a lot of agents don't have. There's a lot of things that go into the entire process even before the house hits the market. So, like our goal, like your goal too, is to get that you want to get that whole big buyer pool built up ahead of time. So instead of maybe getting two offers, maybe you get 7, 10 offers, and that is just not okay. Yeah, I can do this cheaper than, somebody else. And let's put the house on the market. It goes into the multiple listing, they take the first offer, and that's it. They don't realize the anticipation that you can build up ahead of time. And
Mhm.
you have a great CRM program too. We keep, in the olden days, I remember we kept track of all our customers with a notebook. We keep flipping and flipping and flipping, right?
Yeah.
So now
Mhm.
we have a CRM program, and so we have like 23,000 people in this CRM program. And so let's say a house lists for 800,000, let's say in Andover, the CRM program will take those buyers that fit that criteria in that range and shoot that house out ahead of time. And then look at all the people that we have that will try to shoot that house out ahead of time through all these different social media, through these videos that we take of the outside of the house, trying to build up that anticipation. Um,
Exactly.
and this is something that I think, sometimes it's sad that, sellers, maybe we don't do a good job of explaining exactly what we do. And I think that that's key is we have to present the value that we bring to the table. And I think after we do, I think they realize, geez, she's going to get me, they're going to get me a lot more money for my house than this guy over here. And I know both of us, we have really good list to sell ratios. So we get a high percentage of our list price. So, and I think if you can present to a seller, look, this is what this discount brokerages gets for their list price, and percent over list or under list, A lot of them are under list,
Right.
and this is what we get. So right there, that's the difference in commission plus right there, plus what they're leaving on the table.
Right.
So yeah, I
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's well said, and it's you could talk about commission all you want, but I think you said it best. I mean, it's they can't negotiate potentially. These competing discount brokerages. It's really that bottom line, right? I mean, what's X percent versus an extra 50, 60, 70, 80, $90,000 in your pocket. We're not even talking about commission anymore. So
right,
I had,
exactly.
and I'm sure you have stories about this too, but one of my favorite ones was there was a house last year, and I went into the listing appointment, showed the number, showed the marketing plan, showed the value. We had a great conversation. They couldn't get past the commission differential between what I offer and what is fair, and what I offer everyone, and what someone else was offering, which was less. And I never badmouth other agents. If they tell me who the name is, I don't go that direction.
Yeah.
But I just kind of show, what we can offer them. And I ended up leaving, and he called me back, and he and she, I should say, the married couple called me back, and we ended up listing. And I said, why did you list? And they felt like the overall package made more sense for them, and they did believe the idea that the bottom line was it. And we ended up and I know we've had crazy numbers, and you've had some crazy numbers, and we've seen them, but $200,000 over asking, no exaggeration, with multiple offers. And what is X percent at that point when that's the difference in the price, And I'm not saying the other agent couldn't do it, but we were confident in our overall plan.
But you think about it, Matt, all the money that we invest in these listings, between the expert photography, okay, the social media, the admin support. I mean, there's a whole plan that goes on behind the scenes, weeks before this house hits the market. You
Mhm.
know, what are you going to cut? What to get that low commission? What would you cut to do
Yeah.
that low commission? Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get somebody that's just going to be like, thank you very much. You get a cheap commission. They throw it in the multiple listing service, and they don't provide all that you know like we shoot this out to 7,000 agents. It goes out on Top Agent Network, Facebook sites that realtors just get invited to ahead of time. I
Right.
mean, they're not doing any of that. We take that video and pump it out through all different forms of social media ahead of time, and building this anticipation.
Yeah.
We've got landing pages on our CRM. It goes out to anybody in the CRM that qualifies. They don't. They probably don't even have a CRM.
Right, and beyond the CRM is, and I know you have a great newsletter. The newsletters that we send out to thousands of people. I mean, that's like a second CRM almost.
Right. So we have that newsletter. And so then what happens is, one of the great admin on the team makes that newsletter. And then, he sends it out to my database. We had like 7,000 agents on there, plus the people I've been collecting for about 25 years. Then what the team members do is they pop my information out, put theirs in, and then you've got 9 team members shooting it out to all their database. So you have like 9 agents marketing this one home. So that's the other reason I love teams too, because I think it's hard for an individual agent to do as much as, there's a lot of people behind the scenes in a team that can really get that house out. But I think it's like a math equation, and I think they're looking at one number.
Mhm.
Mission is one number. I mean, the goal is to get that highest net for them,
Right,
you
yeah. And
know?
when you hear you describe the overall plan, and then maybe a discount brokerage describes their plan, it's not close. Do you know what I
No.
mean? Taking a so say let's say a discount broker. I've seen them do this. They take the iPhone. They take
Oh,
10 pictures. They go to Facebook, they push the boost button for $15, which boosting, if you learn a little bit about boosting, doesn't do very much from what the marketing experts tell us. It's not targeting
yeah.
who you should be targeting. They will not pay for postcards. They will not put door hangers and they will not door knock to the neighbors and try to invite them to the open house to try to solicit, maybe a neighbor's daughter or son that might want to move into the neighborhood. Because those people will pay more than market value to get into the same neighborhood as a family member.
Exactly.
So
You
they
can
won't
babysit.
go that extra mile. Yeah, they won't go that extra mile, and it doesn't always mean they're bad agents. They could be new agents that, are just trying to figure things out, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, if I'm selling a house, my own property, you were selling your own property, it's just way too big of an investment, like you said earlier, to gamble.
Right. I mean, I try to list, and I'm sure you do too. I try to list a house like I would list my own property. I don't skimp
Mhm.
on anything. I make sure that, we've got a really good photographer that goes out there. We've got one of our team members that makes up a landing page ahead of time in our CRM on our website. So, a client can go in and get the information ahead of time on the property. And, we have, remember a long time ago, you used to put the little box next to the listing, the sign, and they used to pull out the listing sheet, and the seller used to get all excited, and they used to say, geez, so and so came by, and they grabbed a listing sheet, and I'm like, well, geez, who were they? Well, now you can capture that person's information. Right. So that because the landing page is like a listing sheet that they can access, so we can make sure we can contact these people and make sure they're interest answer any questions about the property. But I think if that's all a seller is looking at, I think that they're really shortchanging themselves, and they're going to leave a lot of money on the table. I mean, I think sometimes too, when you're thinking about it, um, I mean, I think another thing, you want somebody that really is local, that understands the area, you
Yeah,
know?
thanks. Exactly. Because we do have agents that will come into town and they won't know anything about the schools. And
Right.
we know the schools are important to a lot of people that are buying in this town. It's one of the big draws, and it's important to understand that.
Well, I think that's why, I think this is why Andover has held, Andover North Reading is they've held their values so well. I'm at the gym this morning and I'm listening that the housing market pricing has gone down 1.3%, and condo sales are down 30%. I'm like, what? I mean, that hasn't happened here. We've been, it's almost like if you do enough coming soon advertising and you can negotiate well, it's just almost like last spring.
Yeah.
It really has been.
Yeah. No question. And it's so hard right now to to overprice homes. Do you know what I mean? You're not seeing a lot of it, but I will say this: that I have seen some expireds, and I'm sure you've seen them too, where you look at the photos, you look at the description, you look at the room dimensions that aren't there, and it is just not. It's just a disservice to the seller.
Yep.
You know,
Blinds half down. I see that. I go crazy when I see that stuff. I
right?
hate. Yeah,
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 or we'll go in, we'll be the second or third agent, and they'll say, well, agent so and so's number is 900 for the list price, and yours is only 850. And I'll say, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not saying anything about them. I'm telling you the truth. This is at or slightly below market value. And if I'm wrong, I will A, apologize, and B, the price will go through the roof and you won't care anymore.
right, right. That's the other thing. A lot of agents like buy a listing by listing it high like that.
Mhm.
And I think in this market too, one of the important things for sellers to do is they really need to look at that list price that the property went under for, not necessarily what it sold for. you know but I think this is all information that an experienced, it's why would you ever take one of your biggest assets and discount it?
Right. And think about, we're all consumers, right? So think about anything you've ever had done at your your property and or any property you've ever owned. And I think about this, and I'll think of one that's right off the top of my head. We had our roof done, I don't know, 7 years ago, and I met with 3 or 4 roofers. And I didn't go with the cheapest roofer. I listened to them. And then when I got the price and I decided I was going to go with this roofer, at no point was I going to negotiate with somebody that was going to be on site supervising his crew, warranting this, roof, so on and so forth, had 100 reviews, like all like 4.7 to 5-star reviews. We've done the research, and if sellers do the research on the agents and really dig and then ask them the right questions, and there's 4 of them, it's no different than the roofers. The last thing I want to say is, well, I got a discount roofer to take care of my roof. It's just too important to me.
Right. I mean, that I think that that's important. It's sort of like hiring a painter too. It's like a service. And I think one of the best things that a seller can do is just let you do your job. I mean, okay, these are the comps. Look over these comps with me. I mean, does it look like a $900,000 house, or does it look like an 850? And try to be objective. I mean, I mean, I had one seller say to me one time, this was many years ago, but she believes that my house is worth this much money. And I'm like, oh my God, just look at the comps. We looked at the comps, and what happened is I saw the price of the house come down after the girl listed it. And I'm like, there you go. But
Yep.
what happened is, because it didn't go the first weekend when it was the busiest, this seller left money on the table. So
Right.
she won with that agent that, bought that listing by giving her the highest price. And it really wasn't in the best interest to do that. But what happened is, when the house went under agreement, there was less buyers looking at it because it had been on the market for a while, and people, they think something might be a little bit wrong with it. Why has it been on? It's only like a couple of weeks, and then people think in this market there's something wrong with the property.
Right.
And so I mean, she left money on the table by doing that, opposed to if she had had it on that first weekend and priced it well coming out of the gate and built all that excitement. So, a discount broker, really, if they don't believe in the value of what they do, you know, they're going to cost that seller money.
Thousands, tens of thousands. And I know your team and my team, we meet with sellers usually months before they list and say, look, this is the things you can do to make tens of thousands of dollars more, so on and so forth. And we give them a plan. Like, look, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but you could potentially be losing 50 grand if you don't want to paint and declutter and potentially stage and make it look its best. So we give them the options. I think some homes come on the market, they don't look their best. And I don't think it's necessarily the seller's fault. I think maybe it's there's too many yes agents, that are afraid to give, the critical feedback that the sellers really need.
Right. I mean, they walk in and they're basically they're just saying, what do you want to hear? It may not be in the best interest of the seller, but if the seller says, I want to sell it, it is, and I don't want to clean anything or declutter. And then what happens is, if the house doesn't sell, then they're trying to backtrack and clean it and declutter it. It's too late. You would have
It's too
gotten more
late.
money at the beginning.
Right.
The other thing that we did that made somebody a lot of money, and so if people are thinking about selling, let's say in the fall, in the winter, in the early spring, where your house doesn't look the best, okay? So we put on 39 Hawkins in North Andover, and that backyard was like an estate. I mean, you walk back there, it was like an estate. So we photographed that like when it looked its best in the summertime, with all the flowers coming and the pool open and all that stuff. And we just held those photos because we weren't sure when that house was going to be coming on the market. We were working out something with the land next door. So it hit in February. So we had those beautiful pictures, in the middle of February. You're miserable, it's cold, and you see these beautiful pictures of the pool and the flowers going around and stuff like that. I mean, that really helped sell that house. So, my opinion, if anybody's thinking about selling anytime within like the next year or so, we can have us out. We'll photograph the house professionally on the outside, and you have those pictures. And I mean, a lot of people are like, geez, I want the pool to be open. Well, if you want to come on in January or February when there's nothing on the market, and you want to look like you got the pool open, you have it photographed now, and you can make a
Yeah.
lot of money doing that.
It's a really good point. Yeah, because I think maybe some sellers need to hear that, is that if you call us, we don't have the sign in our car. We're not putting the sign in your yard that day. Like, we can, like you said, you can take photos in the fall if it's because fall is picturesque here. And we did that with 19 Walcott Ave, the same thing. They said, we're not going to be ready to sell until spring of next year. And I said, that's great. Why don't we take the fall photos? And same thing, right? We'll sit on them. And that
Right.
gave them time to prep the house. And then when it came on, the pictures were perfect. And you don't have to rush, have a good plan. Like if you're a year away or 2 years, you should be meeting with some agents for sure. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely do. So we had someone call us, and it was perfect because when I walked in, I looked at the kitchen and I'm like, geez, for a little bit of paint, changing some knobs, and they're not coming on till next spring. Now they had all winter because they had the like darker, older colors that. So you get a young buyer that's coming out from the city. They want something very neutral and everything. But the kitchen wasn't new. But I'm like, geez, little paint change there, and the kitchen was huge. It was like the selling point of the house, but without replacing all those cabinets and spending all that money, paint, maybe flip a countertop out and the knobs, brand new kitchen. Looks like a
Right.
million. I mean, but
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
right. And I'm sure you do the same thing when people have me over. Some people I go over like every year for like 2 or 3 years. My downsizes, they're never really quite ready. And I say, you'll know when it's ready. Just get the house
Yeah.
ready and then you can just hit a button, we're ready to roll. But, you know, but I usually say to them, how long do you think you're going to be here? Do you think you're going to be here a year? Do you think you're going to be 5 years? Because they have to figure out kind of what to invest in. And, you know,
Yeah.
it'll make them so much more money in the long run. They don't have to rush. There's people I'm dealing with now. I'm walking in and they want to buy this house in Florida. They're out there looking, but it's the downsizes, right? So I can see all the kids' stuff there and all this other stuff. And I said, look, I don't care if you don't list for 2 or 3 years. Let's get the house just decluttered. You don't have to just let's plan on this. I said, because one of my biggest fears is going to happen. You're going to find that house in Florida. You're going to call me. You're going to put this house on the market tomorrow, and we're not ready. You're not ready inside. You still got clutter from the kids, and this is a big thing. So let's work on this and get this ready. And so go shopping. Take your time. Find something, and when you find it, we go, and then that's it. You're ready to roll and make a lot of money. But you
Yep.
know what? I don't think a discount broker cares.
No,
They,
no, it's one of they want to jump on it. They want the listing typically on the next month or so, and a year for them is a lifetime. We just keep, I would say, we keep juggling balls in the air, and these are all our different clients, and they're going to be, like you said, they're going to push that button to list when they're ready, and we're not
right,
going to trick them with little sales tactics and scripts and things like that.
right.
That's old school. It doesn't work anymore. People are really smart, and
Hmm.
but it is fun. I'll tell you when they you can tell that some of them aren't real estate agents. Obviously, they're calling us, and whatever they're experts at, our clients, we would look silly trying to do their taxes if they were an accountant or something like that. So it's funny when they say to me, they'll say things like, and I've had people say this. They said, we're thinking about getting putting an in-ground pool in. Is that a good investment? And I said, listen, it sounds fantastic, and I want you to invite me over. But you told me you're selling, in 2 or 3 years, you're never going to get that money back. And I think
No,
that we give them the straight answer, like you said, the kitchen, right? If you, is, I say, if you're painting the cabinets, changing the hardware, making it look, you could do really well. I mean, can you think of some other things that sellers could do that you think is a good return on their investment without dumping 150 grand into an in-ground pool when they're going to be there only a few years?
I think paint is the best bang for the buck. Oh my God. If you take a house with like dark trim and you paint it white and freshen it up, and you take I mean, I'm sorry, the reds aren't doing it anymore. Like there's certain colors that just aren't doing it anymore. And just neutralize it. And when you really think about it, I know it sounds like a lot of work. You know, 1 week max. That's all you need. Get a good painter in there. I mean, you'll make it back like crazy.
Yeah,
So I think paint is the best bang for the buck. It can make everything look new. And
I
and
agree.
I think today's buyers, I mean, they they like things. I get a kick out of my downsizers because they'll say to me, "Oh God, I didn't buy it that long ago," and I'm like, "When did you buy it?" About 20 years ago. Okay, the buyer's in their 30s. I mean, they were 10. I mean, come on.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we invested in the heavy curtains. Okay, take the curtains down, paint the trim white. You know,
Mhm.
neutral colors. I'm a big believer in staging, even if it's like just getting a stager in and using what you have. But like, all right, so let's say a stager walks in and say, okay, let's move your furniture over here. Let's get a few accessories. It doesn't have to be, all right, all the furniture out, all brand
It's
new furniture. It doesn't have to be that.
true.
But you can make so much money by just planning a little bit ahead of time between, like if those outside photos. I've been saying this for 25 years. Nobody listens to me, but all right. In the fall, get the outside of your house ready. So when the springtime comes, you're not chasing the landscaper and the painter because your house is peeling. Get it ready. So,
Yeah,
and then get it photographed on the outside so you can come on whenever you're ready. There's no pressure.
100%. I tell the sellers, they said, what should it look like on the inside for paint? I said, a gray white box. We want a gray white box. We want every single wall gray, every single trim white, every single ceiling repainted white. And they said, even the ceiling, I said, if you paint everything and you don't paint the ceiling, you'll know. It'll look tired.
And they'll get that money back.
They will.
They will, and they'll make much more. And the other thing too is like I don't think a discount broker really thinks about timing of the market to sit down and have a conversation. I mean, let's talk about timing of the market. When is a good time to put a house on? And then you talk about like what are your personal needs? What do you, because that always outweighs everything else. But you know, I don't think they really care about all that stuff. I mean, I think it's more like, yeah, I can charge less for the commission and that's it. Let's go. And I don't really think they're thinking about any in-depth marketing. I don't think they're doing probably the quarter of the things that we do, because if they did that, they wouldn't be able to afford to list the house. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the back end of that. All the
Yeah.
money we spend in the back end.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, we certainly don't show them the bill. We pay for that up front, whether we sell it or not, and we're putting our money where our mouth is, and every client gets the same thing. We don't say, well, that's a cheaper house or that's a more expensive, so I won't use professional photography. I won't send out
Right.
postcards. We do the same, very consistent, and even something you kind of touched on a little bit is what day of the week are you listing and what is the plan? And I know we talked about offer deadlines before, but I see, and no offense to some agents if they're watching, is I see a house listed on a Saturday and I'm just putting my hand on my forehead. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are they
Why?
doing? Like, and I'm excited to see the house because I have buyers, but I don't think that's a good plan. What do you think about that?
No, you see, this is it. What it looks like to me is they don't really care, because if they cared, they would list the house the way you would list your own house. So if you're putting the house on a Saturday, what if somebody's gone away for the weekend? You just lost all those people. All right, so if you have that coming soon advertising ahead of time, you've got a relo. That guy's got to buy, right? He might be in, Utah or something on it right now, but there's a house that hits that market. You do coming soon advertising, that guy's out there. Opposed to, oh, let's just put it on a Saturday and there's no marketing done. It's a Saturday, we don't do that. Like we put them on even after the coming soon marketing is done. We put them on like a Wednesday, and we don't start showing till Thursday. And then we put offer deadlines like on a Monday. This way it gives everybody time to look at the house, no buyer's remorse. If the seller agrees to a pre-home inspection, they can do that so they can write up a clean offer. Buyers have a chance to ask any questions that they want to ask. So if they work if they work during the week, they can see it in the weekend. If they go away during the weekend, they can see it, Friday, Monday, Thursday night. I mean, it's all a strategy. And if you've got somebody that to me, it doesn't sound that the discount broker can't provide their value. They don't have the value. That's why they have to cut their commission. And what I feel bad for the sellers that don't know our business like we do, but what happens is they leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
Right. Exactly. Like you said, for that single digit, that they have wrapped up in their head. And you start Googling things when you're selling your house. And I know there's articles that will say, negotiate this and negotiate that. But the one thing you shouldn't negotiate is the overall plan that the realtor is going to provide, the bottom line of how much money is going to be wired to your account when all is said and done.
Right. I mean, the thing is too, I mean, I think you got to go by somebody's reputation and, I mean, you got to go by who's got a good reputation in town, who's going to do a good job selling your house, who's got relationships with the agents. That's very important too. You know, which agents, are going to be pretty easy to deal with, which agents are going to be kind of tough to deal with. There's a lot of I remember one of my agents that worked for me. She goes, "There's a lot of moving parts in real estate," and it's true. There is a lot of moving parts to it. I
That's the
mean,
exciting part. One of the exciting parts, I should say.
yes, but you think about it. So, all right, you're negotiating the offer, okay, which is important because, all right, on some of these offers, you know, we've had double digit numbers of offers that are coming in. You get a lot to keep track of. You get a lot of agents that that you're negotiating with. Then let's say they have a home inspection, which are coming back now. Okay, you got to negotiate again. Then what happens if you got to negotiate again with the purchase and sale? And then what happens if the appraisal doesn't come in? You're going to negotiate again. So you've got a person that can't even negotiate their own commission, and you're asking them to negotiate maybe 4 times on your home. And you don't think that's a risk?
Right. Exactly. Can you think of a time where you were negotiating with another agent that was trying to get a little bit tough with you, and because you knew like you had the seller protected, that they didn't have a leg to stand on, where some agents might fold and get a little bit nervous. So maybe a buyer or a buyer's agent is threatening to leave the deal and maybe it's a little further in. Can you think of anything? I know that's maybe a tough question on the fly, but
No, no. On many, I don't want to mention agents' names or anything like
names.
many circumstances. I can remember an agent coming after me for like, they figure, they kind of got you like you're 3 or 4 weeks into the transaction and they're really kind of like got you by the kilionis there, right? And you kind of got to go back at them a little bit. I don't know. I always think it's like dating, just like let them rant and don't pick up the phone for a while until.
That's
So, but yeah, I don't think that, a lot, we're very fortunate where we are. We have a lot of very professional agents. It's a great town to sell real estate in, and when there's a lot of good agents, and we both developed relationships with them over the years. Because I remember when I first started, and I would go like, anywhere, anybody, any town. I was all over the place.
yeah,
I mean, some towns are a little bit rough. The agents, they're a
yeah,
little bit rough,
for
and
sure.
I think, yeah, and I think you've got a lot of Boston agents that are coming into Andover now because this is where the business is in the suburbs, and their buyers are coming out here. So they're used to doing business, I think, a little bit differently in Boston, and yeah. So I've had a couple give me a little bit of a hard time, but no big deal.
Yeah, and that's part of it though, that you could stick up for your seller and make sure that you know your fiduciary responsibilities to your client. And I remember I did one out in Tingsboro, and again, kind of out of my area. And the agents are all a little different, and they're nice and stuff, but you have to kind of conform a little bit with where you are. And I remember my seller had left some very nice furniture for these buyers, and they just were going to leave it. They weren't going to make them pay for it. It was like Pottery Barn. It was nice it was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
And the inspection was over, and then after the inspection, the agent was pushing for radon mitigation. And I said, "Well, the inspection is over." And they said, if the sellers don't put in the radon mitigation system, then we're going to walk from this deal. And we had $20,000 in escrow. So I said, there's 20,000 reasons why we both know you're not going to do that.
Mhm.
and because we had them, and sometimes they will push on you and try to bully you and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And as long as like there's no way that's going to happen, and you're going to defend yourself. Some agents, I think, will get scared, like, oh, what are they going to do? We're going to have to sign the release, which we would never do, by the way, if that happened.
Mhm.
So on and so forth. But then I gently reminded the agent that the sellers gave her the furniture. You need to remind her of that. That's important. They were very giving. That's radon mitigation, is not nearly as expensive as a few rooms full of furniture.
Well, but why didn't that agent do the radon mitigation testing before? Did they
I know
forget?
they did it, but the results, and there was nothing contractual that pending the results were not in the purchase and sale. It was gone. It lapsed. You know how we are. We don't chase down radon results for someone else's client. So
Sounds like she might have been a discount broker.
I
Maybe
think you are correct.
she-
Well, very well said. So that was really good, Debbie. So that was. I mean, we could talk about this for another few hours, but
Probably something going on in real estate.
there is. Yes, we're not gonna be short on topics. So thank you everyone for joining us on this podcast and podcast number 3. So we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, and let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about.
Yes, perfect. Yes, DM us, or you can email us, or look up our cell phones and just Google us. And we look forward to working with you.